And what is up, everyone? Welcome to the Gridiron Fantasy Football YouTube channel. I'm Chip. I'm the host of the Gridiron Fantasy Football podcast, and today is Saturday, December 5th, 2020. And on today's episode, I'm going to talk about all of the injury updates for Week 13. Now, this is a very crucial week because this is the last week of the regular season for fantasy football players, and this is the week where this can make or break if you're going to make the playoffs. So hopefully you're able to find players that you can pivot to just in case you're dealing with injuries. Hopefully you were smart on the waiver wire. Hopefully you're able to pick up some handcuffs. But just in case, I'll give you some names that you may be able to pivot to if they're available. But let's start off with all the players that are in for Week 13. And at quarterback, Drew Lock, he's going to be active for Sunday night against the Chiefs. Now, obviously we know about the whole debacle of the Denver Broncos. Pretty much every quarterback had to be quarantined because of high-risk exposure. So with that being the case, they had to play a practice squad wide receiver. So, you know, it is what it is. But now Drew Lock will be back for Week 13. And that running back, Dalvin Cook, he will be in. A lot of people were worried about him because he got up limping last week. He was able to come back into the game. But he's good to go for Sunday. So he's good. And then Jonathan Taylor of the Colts, he was on the COVID-19 list. The Colts have activated him, so he's good to go for Sunday as well. Myles Gaskins, he was activated off the IR. He's good to go. He's going to be a plug-and-play RB2. He's going to get the workload. The Miami Dolphins have really no running backs that are pretty much healthy, so Myles Gaskins should be a good RB2 tomorrow. And then Ravens running backs J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram, they're both going to be active. Will be on the active roster for their game on Tuesday against the Cowboys. Which means, like, I'm going to play J.K. Dobbins. I think J.K. Dobbins has now become the starting running back who's going to get the majority of the touches. So he's going to be a guy that you can play. I think he's more of a flex play just because they have so many people that rotate. But I think you can still play J.K. Dobbins in your flex. And then Seattle Seahawks running backs Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde. They both were limited in practice this week, but they're good to go as well. And then we're going to see wide receivers, DJ Chark, he was off the injury report, so that he's good to go for Sunday, which is a good bump for Mike Glennon, and hopefully it gives you some, optimism for like Laviska Shenault or Keelan Cole, because now DJ Chark will get most of the coverage, so hopefully that gives you some upside with those two guys. And then AJ Brown, he popped up on the injury report due to a hip injury, but he's good to go. He will be in on Sunday as well. And then tight end Zach Ertz. So Zach Ertz has missed the majority of the season. The Eagles have finally said they're going to activate him. He's going to play on on Sunday. But the problem is that Dallas Goddard he's the guy right now. I mean, my assumption is with Zach Ertz is that he's going to be on a limited snap count. I can't imagine that he's going to go and play, 80 to 90% of the snaps. I think he'll be, kind of gradually put back into the rotation, but it looks like he's good to go. So it's a good matchup. So hopefully he can get you some fantasy points if you have to play him. But I think that you have to have low expectations based on his first game back from injury. So those are the players that are in for Week 13. Now all the players that are out for Week 13. Starting at the quarterback position, Daniel Jones. He's not going to play. He hurt his hamstring last week. He tried to come back in. It didn't help. He tried to push through the pain, unable to. He's going to be out for this week, so a player that you can pivot to, I know it's gross, Colt McCoy. I mean, if you're in if you're in a 2-quarterback league and people just grab quarterbacks just because to try to keep your opponent from getting another quarterback, Colt McCoy might be a guy you may have to play. I know it's not going to be likely, but he's an option if you need it. At running back, Josh Jacobs, he is out for Week 13. He's dealing with an ankle injury. So obviously Devante Booker was a guy that I had mentioned on the waiver wire show, is that he needs to be rostered because he's a handcuff. And this is exactly why you need to have these handcuffs, because they do put your bench at risk in the sense of having to carry another guy that you may not play week in and week out, but they're there for these situations. So hopefully you're able to pick up Devante Booker. He's the guy that's going to start. I think he has a good opportunity against the Jets to be an RB2 this week. And then Deandre Swift, there was some encouraging news coming out that he was progressing through the concussion protocol. Then he got out of the concussion protocol. Then he sustained an illness. So it looks like he got downgraded to doubtful, which I think he's not going to play. Anytime a player gets downgraded to doubtful on a Saturday, you're going to be without him. So I think Adrian Peterson's a guy that you have to roll with if that's the case. And then Matt Breida's out, but it really doesn't matter because Myles Gaskin is going to be the guy that's going to be the starter for the Dolphins. So then we got Alexander Madison. Alexander Madison had a appendectomy this morning on Saturday. So obviously with him being out, Amir Abdullah and Matt Boone will be the backups to Dalvin Cook, which is a little concerning because Alexander Madison is that guy who has similar skill sets of Dalvin Cook. He's not, obviously, Dalvin Cook is a lot better, but when Dalvin Cook goes down, Alexander Madison is able to give you RB1 type numbers. I hope that he can come back in time just in case Dalvin Cook does go down, that Alexander Madison is going to be available for you. Now, I know he's injured and he's not going to play this week, obviously, and you're not playing him if Dalvin Cook's starting, but don't drop him. You know, he's the one guy you don't drop. Put him in your IR spot, but just hold on to Alexander Madison just in case something happens to Dalvin Cook. So that's something that you have to be careful with because guys like Tony Pollard, Alexander Madison, Devante Booker, these are guys that you have to make sure you continue to have, like Latavius Murray as well for Alvin Kamara. Like you have to make sure these guys are rostered right now. At wide receiver, Kenny Galday, he's been missing the majority of the season due to a hip injury. He is out for Week 13 as well. That means your pivot will be Marvin Jones if he's available. And then at tight end, Irv Smith Jr., he'll be out. But Kyle Rudolph is the guy that I think is going to have a good day tomorrow. I think that we've seen enough sample size of the target share that he's getting. And with Irv Smith Jr. out, that means that Kyle Rudolph can be a very productive tight end for you. And then Jonnu Smith, he's out for Week 13 as well. So, just a lot of names out there that you hope that you have, but it's one of those things where hopefully if you roster some of these guys, you're already in the playoffs where, Week 13 doesn't really matter unless you're trying to get a division win and you're trying to get that first round bye. But I think the way tight end position has been so far this year, I think you can find somebody to pivot to and get you some decent points. So those are the players that are out for Week 13. All right, now going to the players that are questionable/probable. At the quarterback position, Big Ben popped up on the injury report on Saturday with a quad injury. I have no worries about him playing for Monday night. I think that because they played Wednesday, I think that they have a veteran. He's getting veterans treatment where he's not going to practice. We saw this a couple weeks ago when he hurt his knee in the first half, and he came back and played, and then he rested him for the rest of the week. Big Ben's the type of guy who does not need practice to play. Just because they had a Wednesday game and they're playing again on Monday night. So I think they're just trying to keep him healthy, and they want to continue to try to keep that undefeated record. I know it probably doesn't mean a lot to the team itself, but I think you have to continue to play your best players when you have the Chiefs, kind of at your neck when it comes to the best record in the NFL. So I don't think Big Ben's going to miss this game. However, you have to have a pivot just in case. But the problem is they play on Monday night. I play in a 2-quarterback league, and Big Ben is one of my quarterbacks. So I have to make the decision, do I want to roll with Mitch Trubisky and Baker Mayfield and bench Big Ben, or just chance it that Big Ben's going to play? I think Big Ben's going to play, so I'm not going to really consider and worry about that. But it's something you have to monitor just in case. Hopefully there'll be more reports that come out that he'll be good to go for Monday night. And then Matthew Stafford, he's going to play. He's good to go. I know he's questionable, but I don't see any reason why Matthew Stafford's going to miss this game. Same for Cam Newton. Cam Newton has been dealing with some ailments all year long, but he should be good to go. And then Tua. So Tua has been out. He was out last week because he hurt his thumb. He jammed his thumb on a throwing hand in practice. He missed last week, and you saw Ryan Fitzpatrick take over. Now, that being the case, I think if Tua is going to play, because they said that if Tua is healthy, he's starting. With that being the case, I really think that downgrades Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki. I just think Ryan Fitzpatrick gives better upside to those role players than Tua does. But Tua is going to be the future, so I understand that. But I think that Ryan Fitzpatrick, from a selfish fantasy football standpoint, I think Fitzpatrick gives the better chance to help other players around him. But, if Tua is healthy, he's playing. And at running back, David Johnson, he's been dealing with he was in the concussion protocol. He's going to be good to go for Sunday as well. Just in case, for whatever reason, he's not going to be active. Obviously, Duke Johnson, his replacement. Todd Gurley, he's dealing with a knee injury. he should be playing on Sunday, but just in case he's unable to go, you have to make a decision between Ito Smith and Brian Hill. You know, Brian Hill a couple weeks ago was the guy that people picked up because of the injury to Gurley, but then Ito Smith was the guy who had the most, you know, production in the fantasy, you know, realm of things. So I think that you have to pick your poison when it comes to these two. But you know, I hope I don't have to, you know, I don't have to make that decision. I hope you don't have to either. But it's going to be one of those things that you're hoping Todd Gurley does play, so you don't have to make these decisions. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's dealing with an illness that's non-COVID related. There's a chance that he's going to play on Sunday, but just in case he cannot, then you got Le'Veon Bell. That's going to be his replacement. Now, if Le'Veon Bell's obviously he's going to be gone in your leagues, Darrell Williams becomes a guy that you can pivot to because he's involved in the, you know, offense as well when it comes to situational, you know, situations in the Chiefs offense. But I think that you know, it's one of those things that it's a crappy pivot if you don't have Le'Veon Bell. And then at wide receiver, Allen Robson popped up on the injury report. He's dealing with an injury as well. Now, he got downgraded on Friday, which makes his stats for Sunday in question. However, I can imagine that he's not going to play. I think that he's in a contract year, and I think he really wants to make sure that he puts out his best tape that he can if he's not going to stay with Chicago. So I think that Allen Robinson still does play, but he'll test that knee in the pregame warm-ups and see how he feels, and hopefully he'll be good to go. And then Julio Jones, same as Julio Jones, dealing with a hamstring injury. You know, this is a guy that's he's a stud when he's 100% healthy, but the problem is he's re-aggravated his hamstring, you know, throughout the weeks that he's trying to heal from it. And I wish that he would just stayed out for a few weeks just so he can get his hamstring healthy enough where he's not dealing with these, you know, game time decision or questionable type of statuses. So I think he plays. If he does play, obviously that's a bump up to Matt Ryan. If he does not play, I think that you have to downgrade the you know, Matt Ryan, Hayden Hurst, Calvin Ridley, you know, those guys, because, you know, Matt Ryan obviously does better with Julio Jones in the lineup. And then Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, he should be good to go, but just in case he's not able to go on Sunday night, there's Tim Patrick and KJ Hamler that you can pivot to. And then on Monday night for Washington, Terry McLaurin, he's dealing with the ankle injury. I have no worry that he's not going to play. He should be good to go. He's been dealing with this for a couple weeks now. He's played every week, so Terry McLaurin should be in your lineup. And then honestly, for the two players that are game time decision or doubtful, the only running back on this list is Salvin Ahmed. He's the running back for the Miami Dolphins. He's been dealing with a shoulder injury. They already declared him out, so I don't think he's going to play, but it doesn't matter because Myles Gaskin is going to be starting, so he's doubtful for Sunday. And then Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald's still dealing with the COVID-19 issue, so it looks like he's not going to be available on Sunday for the Cardinals. If he's not, then you can pivot to either Christian Kirk or you can Andy Isabella is another guy you can pivot to. They play the Rams this week. We saw what the Patriots did to Kyler Murray last week, and the Rams defense has turned it on right now. So I think expectation for this game should be limited just because this Rams defense is no joke. But those are all the ins and outs for Week 13. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. I'd love to try to give you any advice for starts and sits. If you have any injury, you know, questions, I would love to answer those questions as well. But, you know, please hit subscribe and support the channel. You know, if you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook at the Gridiron Pod. You can find us on Instagram at Gridiron Fantasy Football. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll be back on Monday when I go over all my Week 13 reactions and all my fantasy studs. So good luck in Week 13. I hope that you make the playoffs, and take care.